This whole unit we're about to start on is all about polynomials. So the first word we have is polynomial. Anyone know what the word poly means? Not 5. You're not wrong, but you're not right 100% either. Poly. Anyone? Your root words? Poly means many. Okay, it can mean 5, but it just means many. Anyone know what nomial means? Well, I want to take a guess at it. Many terms. Polynomial, many terms. So what this is talking about is an expression with many terms. Now, many is an ambiguous word. It can mean 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 100. See the rest? She has to So most commonly we use the term polynomial specifically when we have 4 or more terms. So like 8x squared plus 5x minus 3x to the third plus 2x to the fifth minus 1. That's considered a polynomial. We classify something with this many terms as a polynomial. So then here's my next question for you. Do you guys know what a term is? They know what's a term. Do you see a term in that expression? Give me an example of a term in the expression. Okay, so 5x is considered just a term. What's another term? Eliana? 1. That's a term. Anyone else think of another term?
How's 1 a term?
Okay, let's see if we can help Max out. Can someone give me an example of another term? 3x to the third. That's another term. They're all terms. A term is a multiplication of things separated. Do you see how each one of them is separated by a plus or a minus sign?
Yeah.
So the 1 is considered a term because it's separated by a plus or minus, and it's 1 times any constant's a term. But each term, so 8 times x squared, that's a term because it's a product of numbers and letters. The plus sign is going to separate our terms. So when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is a 5th term or a 5-term polynomial. Okay, we can have other sizes. Like I was saying, polynomials can be any length you want them to be. There's 3 though that we have special names for. And that's these 3 here. The monomial, binomial, and trinomial are special types of polynomials, but they're still a polynomial. So when you hear mono, what do you think? 1. So this is a 1-term polynomial. Whoops, forgot the E. So an example of a 1-term polynomial would be just like 8x squared, just the 1 term. No pluses, no minuses, nothing, just 1 term. When you think binomial, 2. A 2-term polynomial. So that would be like 8x squared plus 5x. There's 2 terms. And then try 3. A 3-term polynomial. So that would be like 8x squared plus 5x minus 3x to the third. There's 3 terms. Now again, all of these are classified as polynomials. It's just these 3 down here are special types. Anything more than a trinomial, we just say that it's a polynomial as opposed to a special type of polynomial. Okay, any questions on how to classify a polynomial? Because part of what you're going to be doing on your assignment is classifying a polynomial. So being able to identify, is it a monomial, a binomial, a trinomial, or larger, so we just call it polynomial. We're good on that? Okay, there's also a second classification we're going to be giving, and that has to do with degree. The degree is your highest terms exponents. So if we look at this example here, what's the degree of this monomial? 2, because the exponent is 2. What about this one? 1. This one? And this one? What about this one? 0, because there's no exponents. If you wanted to, you could say an x to the 0, which is just 1. So which one's the highest? The 5. So we would call this a 5th degree polynomial because the highest exponent was a 5. Yes, Max?
So you know I put the 0 from the exponent of 1.
Mm-hmm.
So why isn't 0 on 5x?
Because the x, see how this had an x already? This one, I added it in so I could show you that it's a 0 because anything to the 0 is 1. So then what would this monomial be? What degree? So we would call this a 2nd degree monomial. Okay, or the other one is a quadratic. Whenever there's a 2, we also call it a quadratic. Okay, this one we have a 2 and a 1. So what would we call it? Go with the highest 2nd degree or a quadratic binomial. And the third one here, 2, 1, or 3. 3rd degree, or we could say cubic, trinomial. So the first part of your assignment, you're just going to be classifying. So being able to say it's a 2nd degree or even a quadratic trinomial or a 1st degree or linear. I didn't have a 1st degree in here, but if your highest power is a 1, that makes a line, so we say 1st degree or linear. Okay, any questions about classifying? Because that's like the first 6 questions on your homework. It's just classifying. Okay, so then when we get into some of these examples, we're going to simplify as well as classify on these. So to simplify like terms, what do they have to have? They have to have the exact same variables. So if this has a w squared x and this has a w squared x, that means these are like terms, and we add the numbers in front. So 8 plus 1, 9w squared x. Now, what is the degree of this term? Okay, this is something I hadn't told you. In one term, if you have more than one letter, you have to add the exponents together. So this would be a degree 3. So if in the one we had up here, all of them were just one letter, if you have more than one, you're going to add the exponents on one term to get your total degree. You follow that or no? So each of these terms, see how this has a 2, this has a 1, but this is all one term because it's a product. You're going to add the exponents to get the total degree of that term. So the 1 that we'd add the 2 and the 1, so this would be a degree 3. So if we look over here just to do the degree part, 4 and 1, this would have a degree of 5. 1 and 4, this would also have a degree of 5. And then to find your whole term, if you have more than one, you still pick the highest. So this would be a 3rd degree monomial. Bless you. On the second one here, are these like terms? So the variables, do they match? Exactly. Yes, because you have a b to the first and a c to the fourth. So we're going to add just the numbers in front. And then we can find that it's a 5th degree monomial. Okay, what about the third one? Yes, Chase. We do.
Since it's 5 BC to the 4th and 13 BC to the 4th, why don't we add both the C exponents?
Because each term is considered different. So you got to keep the terms separated by the plus and minuses. You keep those degrees separated. We don't add them together for the whole polynomial. Just the terms themselves. So we only look at each product because there's differences between multiplication and addition. Multiplication we can add them, multiplication we can add them the exponents together and be all good. But once you throw addition in there, it throws everything. Aliana, you had a question.
Do we just put monomial for all of them?
No. The reason this was a monomial is after we simplified, we just had one term left. We didn't have any pluses or minuses or things being added or subtracted to it. But if we look at this one, do we have like terms? No. Okay, because this has an x squared, so this is a degree 2. This one is a degree 1. Those are not like terms. So something else that we have to do is, you're going to be asked to do, is write in standard form. Standard form is when you write it in decreasing degree. So our highest degree has to go first. 4x squared plus 3x. Okay, so standard form just takes your degrees and writes them in decreasing order. So what was our highest degree? 2. So we'll have a 2nd degree. And how many terms do we have? 2, so that's a binomial. Chase, you had your hand up.
How many numbers are you allowed to have in just one term?
As many as you want, as long as they're all being multiplied. So you can have, usually it's one number and a bunch of letters is usually what it ends up being. But you could have the whole alphabet there if you wanted to. But as long as they're being multiplied, it's just one term. Okay, so if we look at this next one, do we have any like terms that we can add or subtract together? Yeah, which ones? 4x and 7x, so that would be 11x. Now, these were both degree 1. Here we have a degree 3, and here we have a degree 0. So the degree 3 has to go first, and the 0 has to go last. So our highest degree is 3, so we would say a third degree. And how many terms do we have? 1, 2, 3, so that's a trinomial.
You tell if they're like terms by their exponents, right?
By the variables and exponents together. So see how these are both just an x to the first?
Yeah.
I can add x to the first together, but I can't add an x to the third with an x to the first. So you're looking at the variables to see if the variables have the exact same exponents or not. Okay, how are we doing so far? Doing okay? Okay, so if we look at this next one, what are the like terms that you see in this one? The x squareds, they're both degree 2. And then we have a degree 1 and a degree 0. So 6 minus 13 would give us negative 7x squared. And that was our highest degree, so that has to go first. Minus 4x plus 4. So what would our highest degree be? A second degree trinomial. Okay, so last 3 here. These last 3 look a little bit different, but it's the same, we're doing the same thing. So on this next one here, what do we have to do? Because it's addition, we can just drop the parentheses and combine like terms. So what like terms do we have? The x squareds, so that'll be 20. And then the constants plus 5. So how would you classify that one? Second degree binomial. Okay, the last 2 here. What do we have to do on this one here to start? We have to distribute the negative. So this is going to become negative 3x plus minus 5. And we just copy the x minus 2 down. Our like terms, x and negative 3x, add them together, we get negative 2x. The constants, negative 2 minus 5, negative 7. So how would that one be classified? Chase? A first degree binomial. Okay, last one. We again have to start by distributing the negative. So we'll have negative 6y to the third minus 4 plus 6y squared. And just copy the first one down. We have our like terms, y to the third and negative 6y to the third. Negative 4y squared and 6y squared give us 2y squared. And negative 2 and negative 4 give us negative 6. So then how could this one be classified? A third degree trinomial. Okay, any questions on the simplifying or classifying?
What if it's like more than a trinomial?
Then you would just say polynomial. So after trinomial, there's no more special names. We just call them all polynomials. So if you ended up with one that had like 4 or 5 terms, just say whatever the degree is, polynomial. Any other questions on the classifying or simplifying? Okay.